Blossom's in the gathering room. Ooh, I gotta move over.
Yeah.
So my head's in the shot. Hi, it is I, Martha Beck.
It is her, Martha Beck.
And the original gracious badger, Rowan Megan.
Hello.
Woo, how are you doing?
Announcement.
Yes,
First,
announcement.
Before we get started, so that we don't forget, next week we're going to be on a plane at this time, so we're not going to be able to do a gathering room next week.
Playing all day. Hi, Wendy.
Hi,
Wendy from
Wendy
Guelph. From the Blue Mountains, better known as Guelph. Okay. Nice to meet. Well, now Wendy's Wendy.
That's the new name, Gwendy.
Guelphy.
Wendy.
Hi. Oh,
Donna,
Melbourne.
very
my
close
gosh.
behind. Well done, Donna. Donna. Oh my God.
Donna and Guelph.
In Australia,
Guelph,
Donna is
Wendy.
not something you want to call someone. Kathy.
Saw someone from Melbourne. It's hot down under right now.
Oh boy, it's not good.
Steamboat Springs. I went skiing there once. The most humiliating experience of my life. I'll tell you about it someday. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Ashley and Meg and Mary.
Brisbane must suck right now.
Snowmageddon in Wisconsin. You had
not
the apocalypse, the apocalypse snow that we did expect last week and never happened. It didn't happen. That's okay.
Donna's going to come and see us at Multiversity 1440.
Oh, yeah, that's why we'll be on a plane and not able to broadcast next week. We tried and tried and tried, but we could not come up with a time, any time that day. It's just a lot of airplanes.
Hello, lots of beloveds.
Yes, look how great they are.
Oh, they're so cool.
Toronto, Lancaster, yeah, that's close.
We've had a lot of people expressing that they're looking forward to hearing about Overwhelm. It's not just us.
That's why we keep getting our words wrong because, as we sit trying to do, okay, I have to go to California and give a speech. Actually, it'll be a fun seminar thing and it'll be great. We'll love it. But it's a lot and we're both writing books and we have a zillion things to do for business stuff. And we have to record videos and write scripts and write things and do stuff. And we're going to do our annual Right into Light, using writing as a way to lift you up and change the world and everything. So it's good. It's all good.
And it's a very blessed work to have to do.
Yes. And I thought about this yesterday. We thought about a topic yesterday and it was really sophisticated and advanced. And then I said, today we were like, what was it? And then I just said, we're both overwhelmed. We can't think. And then we thought, we will just talk about being overwhelmed. Hey. It's an old sociologist trick. If you're out of things to study, study yourself. Okay.
All right. You good to go?
I'm good to go. Yeah,
I'm going to get out of here.
Let's do this part of it. Yay.
This is nice like that.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So I have been overwhelmed almost my entire life. I thought that I should be getting a lot more done even as a child. I have probably told you already that one of my strongest memories is the night before my 4th birthday, lying in bed, looking at the ceiling. I can picture everything, thinking, oh my God, I'm 4, and what have I got accomplished? I'm going to be 4 tomorrow. All the other 4-year-olds are way ahead. Oh God, I got to work harder. I don't know, I was just born with it. So then I just kept taking on more and more tasks, which is very easy in our culture. Do you know that hunter-gatherers, the closest to the hunter-gatherer tradition as you can find in the modern world, which is probably the Kalahari Bushmen, some of them, the average hunter-gatherer worked about 4 hours per week. And the rest of the time, they would sit around telling stories and braiding each other's hair and developing high art and spirituality. Because it really doesn't take that much to get just exactly what you need. But we live in this society of extreme excess, which we take to be necessity. And I certainly point the finger at myself here. And that means we work and 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 work. We do about 4 hours of work per every 2 hours we are awake. So I'm assuming that a lot of you, like me, are overwhelmed. So I've had a lot of experience with this. And now that it's happening again a little bit, I am going to my techniques, and I thought I would tell you about my techniques in case you are also overwhelmed. So first thing, if you find yourself overwhelmed, you know how in all the magazines they say, give yourself something nice, give yourself a hot bubble bath, give yourself a big bouquet of flowers and a massage, give yourself blah, 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 blah. But the whole thing about being overwhelmed is You can't put in one more thing. That's just going to be more overwhelming. So I say, start the process of getting overwhelmed, not by giving yourself something, but by forgiving yourself something. Yes, let something go. So today, I've been doing very well at my fitness program. And today, if I had followed my fitness program, I would have had a really good long workout. I realized this at about 4 p.m. and I had not done any exercise, and it didn't look like I was going to have time for exercise. And I thought for a few seconds about trying to get in some exercise in some way. And then I just decided something's got to give. And I let myself have a pass on that one. So forgive yourself something when you're overwhelmed, because you will end up doing things you promised not to do. You will skip workouts. You will return to eating sugar or smoking a cigarette or whatever it is that you do to cope. Sometimes when you're overwhelmed, it comes back. It does not help to be mad at yourself. It doesn't help to try to be rigid at this time. It actually will lead to, say it's cigarettes. You smoke one cigarette and then you say, no, I must not have another. It's actually going to make the overwhelm feel worse, and you'll probably smoke more. So forgiving yourself and just saying, oh, honey, you get a pass. Have you seen what we're doing here? You get a pass on that. Okay. Now, once you've forgiven yourself something, that might open up a little bit of opportunity to do something I call going to the cornfield. Now, the first time someone gave me advice on being overwhelmed, I was 15 years old, and I was in Mrs. Suzu's English class. I've been trying all day to remember what that woman's name was. She was a lovely person, and I can't remember a darn thing about her name. But let's call her Mrs. Cornfield, because one day she had me come in after school, and in high school I was very overcommitted. I did every contest, I took all the AP classes. I was pretty much slammed all the time. And I would go without sleep. I had horrible insomnia, and it got really gnarly. And one day, this English teacher asked me to come in, and she sat me down and she said, I've entered you in another contest, and I want you to sit right there and write this essay on blah-blah-blah-blah. And to my shock and horror, I burst into tears. I was not a crier. I was quite stoical, but not that day. I was completely out of control. And I held up a hand and turned around and walked to the back of the room and sat in a corner with my back to her until I could get myself under control. And then I came forward and said, okay, I'm ready. And she said, let me tell you about my life when I was a teenager. This woman got married at the age of 16, not because she was pregnant, according to she didn't have a baby for another year. But by the time she was 20, she had 4. And so she's a 20-year-old woman with 4 children living in a farmhouse in the middle of rural Utah with no other houses nearby and nothing for the kids to do except climb on her and bite her flesh. I'm sure they were delightful children. Anyway, when you got 4 kids in 4 years, it can be pretty overwhelming. And she had no place that was private in this tiny little house. So what she did, this is the genius of this woman, she planted a small field of corn, knowing that the corn grows very fast, and by the time it's about 3 feet high, if you go into it and lie down, no one can see you. If you remember Field of Dreams or Children of the Corn, those movies, going into the corn is you're gone. So whenever her kids would get completely overwhelming to her, this lovely woman would wait until they were all diverted by something. I don't know, she'd throw a cat at the wall or something, and then she would run into the cornfield and lie down. And she would just lie there on her face. Is that prostrate? Yeah, prone is on your back, right? So prostrate, she would lie there. And she said, when your kids are actually in life-threatening terror or pain, because the screaming is different. It's not any more, it's just different because they just seem to scream all the time. But she said, unless I heard that scream, I just stayed in the corn. And they would go looking for her all over the house. The kids would, and they never found her. And she said, Martha, every woman needs a cornfield. I'm sure men do too, you guys out there, both of you. She was get yourself a cornfield, plant yourself a cornfield, find a way to get a cornfield. So interestingly, I later learned meditation by listening to tapes by Jack Cornfield, who's a wonderful meditation teacher. And he suggested shutting yourself off, and even in the bathroom if you have to for a while, and going into a meditative state. And it's almost like the two cornfields, the literal physical space of a place to run and hide, and the inner cornfield, the act of being, getting very calm and very still through meditation. He does that just by observing your state of being. Overwhelmed, overwhelmed, overwhelmed. You breathe, you watch yourself being overwhelmed. And after a while, the part of you that is watching the overwhelm lifts away from the overwhelmed part, and you realize there's more to you than the overwhelm. In fact, the part of you that is watching is infinitely larger than the part that is overwhelmed. And it has capacities far beyond your individual human capacities. So go to a cornfield, forgive yourself something, and use the extra slack to go to a cornfield physically, a place where you can hide for a few minutes, and psychologically, by really focusing inwardly and not paying any attention to all the stuff you have to do, okay? So that's the second thing. The next thing is write everything down. Write down everything you have to do. Like, I have so much to do right now. If I write everything down, including, like, I have to go on a trip, I need to write down everything I need to pack. The important thing is this: while you're doing the writing, you do nothing but plan. You don't anticipate the act itself. You just write it down. You are there strictly to plan. Now, if you have to take time away from something, don't worry, because taking the time to plan greatly reduces the, it reduces the inefficiency with which you go through the actual behaviors. So it's always better to stop and put things in a line before you plunge in. And trust me, I'm the queen of plunging straight in. But when I'm overwhelmed, that's when I actually take the time to go and plan, so that I have every little thing written down. And then you put the thing on the paper, you put it over there, and then you give up. Yes. I listened to this fabulous song. You know, there's a song from the movie Frozen that it's called Let It Go. But you should look this up online. There's this fabulous woman, I forget her name, she's a singer. And she takes all the lyrics to different popular songs, and then she puts them through multiple translators online. Like, she puts them in Urdu and then Mandarin and then Russian and then Italian and then all the way back to English. And then she sings what comes out on the other end. So when she sings that magnificent chorus to Let It Go, it comes out, give up, give up, give up. Yes, it's awesome. So what I mean by give up is that you give up two specific things. You give up your past and you give up the future. You literally squeeze your attention down to the present moment and refuse to let yourself think what happened before, and especially what is going to happen. You've got it on a piece of paper. You give up thinking about it. Give up trying to do it in your head before you have to do it in the real world. One of the biggest times this happened to me was when my son was born. And, well, when he was diagnosed, before he was born, when he was diagnosed with Down syndrome, I got all these books and started reading about all the things I would have to do for him throughout his life. Talk about give up. It was horrifying, because I was trying to do not only what was before me, which might have been change the baby's diaper, but also I was trying to find him a special school and make sure all his friends liked him, and, you know, change society so he belonged, and little things like that. No past, no future. In times of overwhelm, it is just now. And then as you start doing the things on your list, one by one, staying in the now, like when I pack for my trip, I won't be thinking about the speech I have to give. I'll be thinking about folding this sweater and these pants. It'll be just like, I have my list and I have to stay very present, almost like a machine that can only track what's right in front of it. Now, here comes the most important part of all. As you go through the overwhelming thing, and for me, this will be the next several weeks, turn your attention like a laser to noticing every moment of joy and ease. So, for example, when I lay down last night and put on the Great British Baking Show, which is the most soothing television program ever created by the hands of man, I just lay there and went, this is awesome. this moment with the baking show is all there is, and it's all I need, and I am so lucky. There's so much ease, there's so much joy. If you can do that with every tiny moment, and then I fell asleep like 5 seconds later because I was exhausted. But if you can focus even on 5 seconds of joy and ease, then joy and ease begin to grow, because everything grows in the field of our attention. So the more you look at the moments of joy and ease between the tasks, the more the joy and ease begin to flow into the tasks themselves. And it's like you open yourself to that vast consciousness that you can connect with in the cornfield, in the present moment, and it starts doing stuff for you. And it starts letting you off various hooks. And then you can even get to the point where the very situation that overwhelmed you becomes a gateway into something very, very reassuring, that something's helping you, that there is joy and ease, everything, that you can take all of this quite lightly. It's not all that important. And as you lie in the cornfield, people are already being sent to give you good advice, to help you get through this moment, and to help you get off the hook for future times that you must not think about right now, because that is against the rules. But it will happen. So now I will take some questions, please. Gracious Badger, please return.
Very well. Here I am. We don't have a lot of questions yet, but there was something that here we go. Chris Wacker said, often it's the plan that overwhelms me, regarding the point about, coming to the plan.
Yeah, sometimes the plan can feel overwhelming, but it's always, I have found in my mind, and I do this, I'm a very, very guilty party when it comes to overthinking things before they happen. If I'm planning as if when I think about actually doing the thing, I'm actually projecting into future. So if I wrote down, okay, all the items I need to pack, but I then started thinking, oh, I have to do the laundry, and I don't know if I can carry that, and what if the bag doesn't work, and I hate carrying the bags. There are all these associations that can really, really drown me. And when our attention is focused on the overwhelmingness of things, they become more overwhelming. So instead, you bring yourself down and you say, here I am, piece of paper, pencil in hand. Okay, break it down. What do I need to wear on a plane? And just think about that day. And then, okay, when I get off the plane, I will be in a hotel. What will I need in the hotel? And you just write down, I need my toothbrush, I need my pajamas. And you kind of isolate even each item on the list. You're just focused on that while you're writing it down. Yes, if you start imagining forward, the plan itself becomes overwhelming. But if you always stay with the very item you're listing, and that's your full attention is on that, then it never is more than one thing. You can never do more than one thing. And one thing is not that hard to do. But if you try to do multiple things at the same time, you are scuppered.
So the list, not the ramifications of the list.
Yes.
Okay, Donna asks, how do you not get caught in forgiving to the point where you give up? I forgive myself for not working out, then stop working out at all. Hear ya.
Well, just forgive yourself right now. The one thing I learned doing a weight loss fitness management book once long ago, I was kind of doing it for a friend who was having all these problems. And what I found out invariably as I worked with different people is that not forgiving yourself for a slip up in a fitness routine makes you less fit. Like the anxiety of that in itself actually creates hormones that make your body less healthy. But if you give yourself a pass, even if you do it over and over again, I mean, I used to work out so rigorously. I loved it. It was my favorite thing. I just go, the gym was my cornfield. Nobody could reach me there. Nobody bothered me. I would work out for 2 hours and love it every minute. Then I moved to the ranch in California. There wasn't a gym within, it was like an hour's drive away. And I just stopped. The first thing I did was get a gym membership. Never went, not once, for 5.5 years. And I just kept giving myself a pass, And then when we got here and it became easier, I didn't have a load of shame and guilt about it. I just thought, I'm taking Adam, I might as well go myself. And I started very, very, very slowly, like literally 1 minute of exercise. I cannot overemphasize the power of small steps. I've talked about it a million times, but it's so important. And if you have forgiven yourself and forgiven yourself, there's no ill will. And when you get to the one step, there's no emotional baggage around it. So just keep forgiving yourself. That's my advice.
I like it. Kathy, so just a note, guys, if your questions are shorter, it's easier for us. Kathy says, we know what overwhelmed means, but what does well mean? And as it so happens, I know because I have it right here. Let me Google that for you, Dr.
Please do.
Verb, whelm, engulf, submerge, or bury someone or something. Example, a swimmer whelmed in a raging storm. So just think how much worse that would be if it went over.
Yeah.
Answered. Boom, I got that one.
Call this how to get whelmed.
Yeah.
You can get underwhelmed. What does that mean? You're just standing like ankle deep? I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, I wish this would whelm me a little more.
Yeah, I feel whelmed. I feel whelmed with joy. Like
just whelmed enough.
Okay.
All right. So I saw something. Lara says as a comment, overwhelm tends to partner with hopelessness and despair.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that is the very thing you have to sort of head off, starting with self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness is the first step out of despair. It doesn't matter what's happening to you, whether you're sick, whether you're overburdened, whether you have a lot of emotional problems. Self-forgiveness is the first step that actually allows movement to occur. It brings strength back. I wish I could have you here and show you how your muscle strength gets weaker when you attack yourself, and it gets stronger when you forgive yourself. And people think of it as, oh, I'm going to be bad if I forgive everything. But actually, true forgiveness lets us off the hook, and it actually encourages forward momentum. Now, lying and cheating and hiding, that tends to escalate bad behavior. But genuine forgiveness is saying, I understand why you did that. It is not the biggest thing in the world. On the day of your death, you're not going to lie there going, oh, I wish I'd worked out on January 27th, 2019. So if you can be that kind of lighthearted, kind forgiver, you are going to open your energy channels. You're going to get yourself moving instead of allowing yourself to stay stuck. So self-forgiveness is the key to getting out of despair. And then just finding the cornfield and paying attention to yourself. That right there, your heart, the part that is despairing, is starved for your own attention, your own loving attention. And the cornfield is the place to increase the loving attention that you started with forgiving yourself. And that gives you this little bit of forward momentum so you can plan, and then you can shrink time and start moving forward. But it's true. If you don't use these steps, you go into despair. I have done it.
So Lisa says, and a few people have mentioned this, could you speak on compartmentalizing?
Yeah, it's actually, compartmentalizing can be negative when, for example, somebody is lying. Say they have a drug habit and they're lying to other people. They can compartmentalize the part of them that is, happy, loving, open, truthful, and then the part that is on drugs and will do anything to get them and lies all the time. And that there's just such a strong separation. It's really quite fascinating. I've talked to a lot of addicts and a few people in prison who are admitted criminals about. One guy said you have a dark room and a light room. And once you've learned to lie, you can just go and put all the things that you don't want to show people into the dark place. And then anything's okay. But of course, they ended up miserable and in prison. So you don't want to compartmentalize to that extent. But when you're overwhelmed, it's incredibly helpful to have the brain capacity to compartmentalize. Women have been shown, the female brain has less compartmentalization and more integration than the male brain, which is probably why men throughout history have gone to war and then they come home and they don't have to stab all their loved ones. They can go stab strangers and compartmentalize that and then be loving at home. For women, I'm not saying we can't do it, but it seems to be less part of our brain structure. So it can actually be too hard for us to compartmentalize, but it's super useful. I will tell you my favorite way of using it. If I'm overwhelmed in a messy room, say I have to clean my bedroom and I've let it get messy because I'm on a writing deadline and I decided to forgive myself for taking off my clothes at night and throwing them on a chair instead of washing them or hanging them up or whatever. And say this has gone on for, I don't know, a year. Now I've got a lot of clothes. No, it doesn't usually get that bad. But say it's been a while and there's quite a lot of clutter. And I have the kind of brain, the ADD brain, where that's really overwhelming to me. To see a whole bunch of things where I have to do different things with each object is like, ah, no can do. So here's what you do. You focus on one single thing. And then you actually say the word of that thing over and over while you do it. I recently learned that chimpanzees vocalize when they're eating. Something in them compels them to shout a sound that means, in chimpanzee language, it's the name of whatever they're eating. So a chimpanzee, you give it a bunch of grapes, it'll be like, grapes, grapes, and they can't help it. And it causes the other chimps to come and look for the food source. And sometimes chimpanzees try to lie, and they're like, no, no, but they usually end up shouting, grapes, and everybody comes. So we're just a step ahead of them in evolutionary terms.
Cheesesteak!
Cheesesteak! But I kind of do something a little similar when I'm trying to clean a room. The first thing I say is like, everything off the bed, everything off the bed. I throw all the pillows, all the blankets, everything off the bed. Then I go, make the bed, and I just make that. Sometimes I'll just pull it down to sheets, blanket, pillows. Then I'm in a messy room with a clean made bed. Then I look around and I say, everything made of paper, and I go around the room taking everything made of paper and I put it on the bed. Once I've got everything made of paper on the bed, I take one thing and I'm like, throw it away, put it somewhere safe, or throw it away. Those are kind of my options. Read it, memorize it, eat it. I don't know. And then when I've done the paper things, it's everything made of cloth, all the clothes and everything go on there. Everything that needs to be washed. And I literally repeat the same thing, which makes me not move on to the next task. Some people say that Zen is nothing more than not thinking about the next thing. So one guy that I read this Zen book where a guy was in the Zen kitchen peeling tomatoes and he cut himself. And the Japanese Zen master who was with him looked at him and he said, that's because you were looking at the next tomato. Only look at the tomato you're peeling and your life will go just fine.
I have a good follow-on from that, and I think you've just answered it, but it's such a well-put question. Nikki says, what are tips to approach overwhelming moments in the present without having a panic attack?
In the present, there is never anything but what's in the room. There's what's in your mind, but that only exists as a mental construct. Like right now, I'm in a room with you guys, the gracious Badger, computer, technology. It's really all that's happening. Yes, I have a million things to do and write and speak and perform and travel, and none of that's here. There's just now. The whole time I was pregnant with Adam, trying to do his entire life ahead of time, trying to get everything worked out so that the world would still be okay. All I really was a woman in a room expecting a baby, throwing up a lot. Okay, that wasn't fun, but it's not that much to do, throw up. if that's all you do and you're not thinking about anything else, it's much calmer. And Adam himself lives this way, and it has really taught me to stay still. Ooh. Carmela says, long exhale. That is maybe what she just did, which I hope, but also that's a way to cope with overwhelm in the present moment. And then let it go. Give up future. Give up past. This moment is always just, look, you just lived through it. Oh, you just lived through it again and again and again. It's not that hard. And then there will come a moment when it's too overwhelming to live, and all you'll have to do in that instant is die, and it won't be hard.
Awesome.
What a cheerful thing to end on.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up Kristen, who's going to go change her sheets now.
It is fun.
Just to bring the energy up a little bit before we go.
And then forgive yourself for doing something like, just sitting in your underwear eating Funyuns and watching The Baking Show, the most soothing show ever created by the hands of man.
God's bless it.
We love you. We will
love you
not
so
see you
much.
next week, but we will, and because we will be busy, but we will not be overwhelmed because we will be doing things one at a time.
And we will be connected with you all on the Everyone.
Yes, the everyone will be just right. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Mwah.
Thank you for coming.
Bye,
It's so good to see
everyone.
your faces and names.
Goodbye. Love you. Bye.